Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to a random review. Today's random review is Jubal, a western from Delaware Davis from 1956, starring Glenn Ford, Ernest Borgnine, Rod Steiger, Charles Bronson, Jack Elam. This is Criterion number 656. It's 101 minutes. The Criterion edition is just a 4K scan, and there's just an essay in the booklet. There's no other extras. Delmore Davis did a few westerns with Glenn Ford, including 310 to Yuma, which is also in Criterion. I should say Jubal is a Region A Blu-ray. He also did Broken Arrow with James Stewart and several other films in his career. I should really try and track down a few more Delmore Davis, so you can leave your comments below if there's any Delmore Davis films that spring to your mind that I should be checking out. This is a wonderful western. People complain sometimes that westerns are all the same and they're pretty much all about the same thing, and to some extent that might be true. There's only supposedly about 7 archetypal stories in the world anyway, but this is a fantastic little western. It's perhaps not in that transcendent list of westerns like Great Silence and Good, Bad and Ugly and Once Upon a Time in the West, films like that. I would put this in the kind of Bud Bedicker, just so good level of western that is just so much fun, and even though they're kind of simple stories and morality plays and all of that, they're just done so well. Now obviously Glenn Ford is the star in the film. I'm not necessarily a huge Glenn Ford fan, but I do think he is a really watchable actor. I mean, my favourite Glenn Ford film is probably The Fastest Gun Alive by Russell Rouse, which sadly, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have a Blu-ray release. Hopefully that will change, because I just love The Fastest Gun in the West. That's fantastic. Sorry, The Fastest Gun Alive. It also stars Ernest Borgnine, the wonderful Ernest Borgnine, and Rod Steiger. But more of Rod Steiger in a minute. So we're introduced to Glenn Ford's character as he stumbles out of some brush on a mountainside and falls down the mountain, or rolls down a hill. Let's not get carried away. Falls down a mountain, rolls down a bit of a hill, and is found by Ernest Borgnine. Takes him back to his ranch, where he has 3 kind of cowhands. Sam, whose thing is he plays the violin. Carson, who's just a jovial, nice guy. And Rod Steiger, who plays Pinky. No sign of the brain, just Pinky. And Rod Steiger immediately, as soon as it kicks off, Rod Steiger does not like Glenn Ford because he says he stinks like a sheep hand, because nothing stinks like sheep dip, according to Pinky. But Ernest Borgnine, because he's a nice guy, lets Glenn Ford stay and offers him a job, gives him clothes. So Glenn Ford wakes up the following morning, and he's out of his clothes because Rod Steiger burned them because they stink of sheep dip, which begs the question, did Rod Steiger strip Glenn Ford when he was unconscious? But that's a whole different story. So Ernest Borgnine welcomes him in, and obviously Rod Steiger immediately hates him, and Glenn Ford is introduced to Valerie French, who's Ernest Borgnine's much younger wife, and they've just been married for about 18 months because Ernest Borgnine led her to believe that he was this cattle baron. I mean, it's a fine ranch, but it's not quite the Kentucky Fried Chicken of ranches. So she's a bit bored and a bit flirty, and you can kind of guess where it goes. But interestingly, Pinky has had a bit of previous with May, Borgnine's wife, even though you feel it's a little bit forced. As Rod Steiger says, at one moment, if the house gets cold, you just call for Pinky. Yep. But Glenn Ford kind of gets the measure of her, and he is like resistant and cool because he's Glenn Ford. But Steiger still carries a Titanic-sized torch for her. And Borgnine is impressed by Glenn Ford. He breaks a horse to show how good he is in the saddle. And of course Valerie French is watching him riding the horse. There's lots of sexual innuendo about, when you needed wood, you used to give me a call and stuff like that. But Borgnine is so impressed with Ford that he makes him the foreman, which obviously winds Steiger up even more. And then we cut to a religious group of people in wagons who are on Borgnine's land because some of their members are sick, and Rod Steiger wants to run them off with the help of Jack Elam, who belongs to another ranch, but they've decided to give them a hand to get rid of these carpetbaggers. And then Glenn Ford turns up to ask what's going on, and of course, the people haven't actually done anything, but Rod Steiger just wants to cause some trouble, basically. And there's a voice from the back of the group that says, "I can vouch for these people," and it's only Charles Bronson, which will put a smile on everybody's face. It's Charles Bronson. It's like, so you've got Rod Steiger, Glenn Ford, Ernest Borgnine, Jack Elam, and you've also got Charles Bronson, who's fantastic in this. So he befriends Ford. Ford lets the people stay in the land, again winding up Rod Steiger, and he actually brings Charles Bronson back to the ranch and suggests that he gets taken on to help them on a cattle run. Again, winding Steiger up. Steiger is pretty much like a coiled spring throughout this whole thing. And then Steiger, who wants Valerie French for himself, obviously, and Valerie French wants Glenn Ford, but he's taken a shine to a woman in the religious group, which makes her arranged fiance, that makes him furious, so he's wound up about that. So everybody wants everybody else, basically, and things go towards a head as tensions build and accusations get thrown about, and that's where I'll leave the plot. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but it's just so good. Davis' composition and framing is excellent, especially in the later scenes. The way he uses door frames and barn doors, and the use of landscape and scenery and the widescreen. The colour is gorgeous. It's not quite as eye-popping as Nicholas Ray's Johnny Guitar, but it's that kind of colour. It's not perhaps as sugar rush as Johnny Guitar, but it still looks absolutely stunning. Ford and Borgnine and Bronson and Elam are all fantastic, and Steiger He's Steiger. Everybody else is this naturalistic, kind of relaxed, and then you've got Steiger doing his Steigerisms. You know, there's a scene where he's hitting a stick against his leg, and then when the tense moment happens, he snaps it in front of the camera. It's just like, and of course he does that thing with his hand where he reaches down and pulls his hand up, you know, like that, like he does pretty much in every single performance. That's top quality Steigerism. But he's a lot of fun playing a cowboy. Again, at pivotal moments, he'll put his hat forward or put it back. He's always doing something with his hands. There's always a little bit of business that he's doing to kind of garner the attention so the camera looks at him. But it is a wonderful, wonderful film. It's one of those, again, it's perhaps not an elite Western, but it's still so good, and it will put a smile on your face if you like Westerns, or if you just like seeing Rod Steiger and Charles Bronson and Ernest Borgnine and Glenn Ford all like playing off each other and all trying to wind each other up. It's just absolutely wonderful. There's a great line that Ernest Borgnine has about, "I like my coffee strong enough to float a pistol," which I might actually start using, because that's just a fantastic line. There's a wonderful scene where Ernest Borgnine is asking Glenn Ford for advice on women, and obviously Glenn Ford's a little bit tense because Valerie French is pretty much throwing herself at him, but he's resisting. We pretty much have the virgin and the whore thing going on with the two female roles. It's just so good. Again, sadly, there's no extras on the Criterion disc, but again, this was a film I wasn't familiar with, so we should just be lucky that we've actually got a Blu-ray of it, because it does look stunning. Like I say, it's a Region A, so if you're Region B locked, you need to buy a multi-region player as soon as possible, because multi-region players are either the worst thing that's ever happened to me or the best thing that's happened to me. Probably the worst thing that's happened to my wallet. It's just so good. It will put a smile on your face. It's just so good. It's in the class of those Bud Bedicker, Randolph Scott westerns from the Indicator box set. It's spectacular, and you will see Rod Steiger doing some wonderful Rod Steigerisms. Plus, it's a great early role for Bronson, who's actually in it quite a bit, and he has one of those great introductions because you hear his voice before you see him, and it just like puts a smile on your face because it's Charles Bronson. So thanks very much for watching this random review of Jubal. His full name is Jubal Troop, which is, it's almost like a name you'd find in a Cronenberg film, but Glenn Ford is Jubal Troop. So please let me know in the comments below if you've seen Jubal and what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying adios.